Good evening and welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of October 3rd, 2017. We will start with a salute to the flag, and immediately following we will acknowledge a moment of silence for the victims of the mass shooting in Las Vegas, as well as condolences to families of Lori Ann Driscoll, Donald Bennett, and Laura Dennis of Acton.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
A tough week in Acton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very well rooted, good people, good
We
families.
lost, yeah. Condolences to those families. Approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second? All in favor?
Make a motion we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Actually, it's the 19th.
The 19th. I second the approval of the minutes of the 19th. All in favor? Department head committee chair updates. We have Goat Hill, Three Rivers Land Trust.
Come on up, gentlemen. So, Mr. Burnett and Mr. Cashin are here. Tom doesn't seem to be getting up quite as quickly. He's gonna let Lee do all the...
Yeah, I have nothing to offer.
You've got a lot to offer, Tom. Okay, so we know that the parking lot project has been done and been completed. We turned over the we turned over the check for that on Friday. Mr. Davis took a final look at it and was very pleased with the work that was being done there. So that piece of it's done. So now apparently we're ready to start cutting out a trail. And Mr. Burnett's here to tell you a little bit about that and make sure you're okay with that. And I think they're ready to start.
Good evening. First, I wanted to apologize for the board not being fully informed earlier about this.
They don't know all the details yet, Lee.
I have a map just to pass out.
Thank you.
So the Three Rivers Land Trust, mostly through Carl Davis, had been in communication with the state about the funding, and we worked with various contractors to figure out how to get the trail built, and ended up reaching an agreement with Maine Conservation Corps, which is a AmeriCorps type program that's based at the state. They came in with a much lower quote for building the trail. There's not a lot of groups that do this kind of work. It's a lot of handwork. We have a team of 6 people that'll be here for 5 weeks. They'll be living at the bunkhouse that used to be Romac Orchard Seasonal Housing, and they'll be working, in the woods, clearing a path that should be passable by, late fall, and useful, through the winter. And ideally, we would get additional funding through grants to eventually make it a handicap accessible trail. So people of any ability will be able to get up there. And the route of the trail is laid out sort of to make it as gentle as possible while still getting all the way up to the top. The finished trail would be 5 feet wide, and it would be, the finished surface would be, I think it would be stone dust, but whatever the material is going to be smooth and firm, so
Wow.
you should be able to take a mountain bike up it, walk it.
Did you say how long it was? I'm sorry.
So the total distance is 3/4 of a mile. Just kind of roundabout, side hill, up, wherever there's a slope, it tries to go up gradually along the side of the slope. So What else can I?
Some added information from your side of it, because Three Rivers is taking care of this, and it's something that, they'll actually get reimbursed for through the grant, and that's where we had a little miscommunication at the beginning of the week, but I spoke to both of you guys about that, and it's all cleared up. So Maine Conservation that's doing the work has, provided the town with with their liability insurance to make sure that the workers are covered, and also workers' compensation. So we've received both of those. I've confirmed with Doug Beck, who is overseeing the project. Essentially, he's the one that brought this group in, correct? There was a group from the state that the bill and the contract is signed through Three Rivers, and they're handling that piece of it. So there's no other, short of approving the trail and giving them the go-ahead to get started. That's really all you need to do.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, we knew
Yeah,
about the trail all
Yeah.
along. It was
I-
just, right.
Was this why we wanted to have the parking lot done by October 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great thing. So especially if there's no town funds going into it, it's all being handled through the
Three Rivers.
grant and went in Three Rivers, yeah. Yeah, I see no issues with it.
No, I have no issues.
And we want to thank Ken Paul and the planning board, because the initial parking lot was smaller than this, but the planning board and Ken Paul felt like, wow, this could be a popular place. That parking lot needs to be bigger, and I think that was a good idea. So that was good input we got.
Good.
So they're all set to start work?
You're all set.
Fine with me.
I think the town will be happy to hear that it's ADA compliant with the width of the trail and using the stone dust to get some wheels on
Yeah,
it.
more people will be able to use it.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. I know it's a lot of hard work. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Great, thanks.
Any other?
All set? Tom, did you want to add anything? Okay. Next up is road committee.
Hi.
Hello.
We had a very good meeting this week. About 30 people showed up representing 12 different roads. And as we were there to listen, hear what the problems were, and see possibly in the future how we might be able to address them. I think everybody knows in 1989, a law went through preventing funding on private roads. But since then, there have been changes that have been necessary because of environmental concerns and safety for the public on these roads. So there are some ways that the town is able to help them. I don't want to get into, over the weekend, I've taken a ride, and Brendan Meehan came with me. We looked at these sites and went back into literature we've had. Jennifer was kind enough to copy the MMA book with the laws. And that book I turned over to Dennis for the weekend to look at. He's looking at situations on 3 roads that would be different than what I think the road committee could handle at all. The 3 having different town issues and legal issues. But we are able to, in some cases, to do plowing to help. We are able to provide engineering through York County. One road needs $2,000 for engineering before they can begin their work. And they've got a tremendous problem because a culvert up above them, now that there's been so much cutting and forestry work in town, there's a lot more coming down the hill. It's crossing the culvert and apparently causing a whirlpool on one side that is blowing out of a 12-inch culvert like a fire hose on the other. This is going down the hill and over the road and over a septic system and into Wilson Lake. This is something we can step into and with the help of AWAR and various groups do. And this is the thing the road association, the road committee rather, was formed for in the beginning. We started with the road ordinance, and that hasn't worked out to be very successful for us because our roads just don't fit the descriptions. Now this can be modified and then adjust our needs, and it will solve some problems. The 13th Street, I know, can be easily solved if we eliminate this and go by the public easement for plowing. None of the roads that came last week wanted to be taken over as town roads. They all wanted to maintain their own committees and do the work that they felt they could do beyond the town. But all of them said, gee, can you help us somehow? And I have a list of that. I know you've got a lot you're getting into tonight, but I'd like to come back with other members of our committee and do maybe a road-by-road basis of what we could do and what we can legally do, and then we'd put dollar figures on it and come back and get a warrant ready that could hopefully be voted on in the spring. Right now, spend the time and learn what we can, but I would like to think that I had the support of, our board has the support of the selectmen to try to achieve this. I mean, this is our tax base, and a lot of damage has been done by the cutting. Our road had to repair 2 serious breaches that were caused by cuts up on Acton Ridge. It just,
You said you had found a new law that allows towns to help. Did you forward that to us yet?
yes, I have, well, yeah, I can, I've got the whole thing.
Was
And
it in
I
the-
also have, it went through and it's been amended 8 times. I have copies and I'll get it to Jennifer.
Did
And
you find that in the updated road manual from MMA? How did you find
I
it?
don't know whether they have that. I went on the State of Maine website. Well, we originally had it as a road committee when it first came out. And that's how many of these statutory road associations were initially formed. Since then, changes have been made. Some of them are still going by the original rules, like 13th Street is still using the mill method. Other committees have changed. But one thing we do, we drive over to Lebanon Road and we plow a mile there. We drive over 3 miles to plow 1 mile. If we could pick up the plowing on Tattle Street via this public easement, that would give them the money to put into their road and the problems that they've had there. They did some great work this year. We went over and looked at it. They found somebody that really had a talent for putting down calcium with a small grader and then compacting it, because their problem was when the wind picked up and went over that dry road, all of that was coating Lower Mosum with a brown layer. So that's, again, a place where we could step in and help. And when these roads are going to form their own group to get together and try to get a list of, if we need so many miles of grading, perhaps they could buy it. We could get a grader in here that knew how to do it and run through all of them in a few days, make the costs easier. There are a lot of different ways to handle it, but what I'd like is the support of the committee to go ahead and investigate it and see if this is what you want. And one other thing, we came with easements last couple of weeks ago, and I'm hoping those have been followed up on. These are what makes us legal to turn around in these driveways for the winter, and that would just cover us to get those signed. I think almost everything's been done.
I showed you the easement, and we were gonna, yeah,
I left copies of it with the road commissioners like you told me to.
okay.
Yeah, and everything is explained how to do that, and it really should be done before winter. I'll answer any questions.
I was
or-
gonna say, can you put down specifically what you would like the support from the board in writing? Can you put that down?
Yes,
in
I
writing?
can, and when I get back with these road committees, we'll give you a list and we'll cost it up as best as possible. I want to come back with something very firm, or as reasonably firm as you can do it on these roads, so we're not guessing. And we'll need to coordinate with AWA, and definitely, I mean, all of this gets into, once you get into these roads, you're into the shoreland issues, and it's not like fixing something inland here where you can just easily move a culvert or fill in a pothole. It's a different deal.
To keep the water safe.
Yeah, to
And
keep the
clean.
water safe and the people safe.
Okay.
So, okay, well, we will meet, I'll schedule a meeting for our committee, and we will go back over with what roads have approached us, and as we get more in the future, we'll see, and come back to you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
So is there anything that I'm doing or asking the road commissioners regarding these turnarounds? I mean, we
Yeah.
left it kind of when she had come in, she had a packet that we made copies for. I gave to all of you and I gave to the road commissioners, but there wasn't a note on there that said, that indicated to them that we were waiting for something. So what's the direction?
So basically, we're just waiting, the road commissioners are,
Yeah, it's all outlined in the packet I gave you, who to approach, who to bring it to, how to have it signed.
So we're expecting you're expecting the road commissioners to go out and get
If
these
they
turnaround
don't want
signs?
to, somebody on our committee can. I know they're busy, especially this time of year, and we're fortunate enough to have a couple of retired people that are willing to go out and do some of this legwork.
yeah, if they want the committee to help them out.
Yeah, if they
Find
don't
out.
feel they have the time, we're happy to help there.
So I'll get back to you with their
Sure.
decision before you do anything.
Yep. Yep, we'll be very careful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Old Business Road Committee Survey.
So I would say it sounds like, based on what Mrs. Hart just presented from the last meeting, that they haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
A couple of people have, and we haven't gotten much of a response back, really. I don't see where it's going to be that helpful to us. Maybe it's something helpful to you, but
The survey wouldn't be helpful to you.
I think that if.
Can you
we
come
should
back up?
continue what
So,
we're
yeah,
doing,
sorry.
I think we should. What we basically started to do was continue what we were doing in 13, 14, when everything kind of dissolved and we didn't get back. But one thing I did look into was a past road committee report, and Dave Cody wrote this when he was chairman, and this might be very handy for you guys to look over, because it outlined more or less how we were working, what we were doing, and I think you'll find it doesn't have any conflict really with anyone, but we were collecting information then on the bridges, and just on the bridges. I know that's been passed on, but I hope you're prepared to put away at least $100,000 this year just for what you're going to need for engineering, and that's going to be your drop in the bucket on that one. And the dam, when we were going by today, we brought that up in August, and when I went by with Brendan, we looked at that again, and that cut that had been taken out of the top of it, and there's now a diagonal crack that extends from the bottom of that cut that goes down the side of the dam, maybe 6 or 7 feet. I don't know how new that is, but Jason Mowry goes there every day, and he was going to recheck it. Apparently he fishes there on the way home, and he was the one that originally brought it to our attention. So that would be something too, that if it hasn't been followed up on, when things freeze, it's going to get worse.
So not to take away from that, but back to the road survey, so are you looking to hold off? I mean, the purpose of this was essentially to determine the duties of the standing road committee, correct? And you were going to send the survey out. I mean, if they don't feel like they really need the direction, because it sounds like they know which way they're going, I mean, does the board and the road commissioners still want to go forward with the survey, or?
I think the survey was drafted because the committee at the time was scattered in different directions on what it is they wanted to work on, in addition to the head-butting with the road commissioners. So we needed to put it back out to the people to decide what it is you're supposed to be doing. But if you feel like you're working on what you should be working, and the road commissioners are happy with that, I don't.
And if you wanted to add anything to it, it's fine. But I would like to leave you a copy of this, and you can pass it around, and maybe everybody can read it, and
Okay.
give you a better feel for how we'd like to work.
Okay.
So maybe
Thank you.
Jen can maybe scan that in and email it back out to us.
Yeah, so I guess back to this, am I taking,
I guess we're
taking it off the
We're
agenda
gonna
until?
put it on hold.
So, which to me, that means
I
coming
would, it's
off.
good information put together, so I think we should keep it.
What year is this from, Cindy? Oh, never mind, year ending, perfect. answer my own question.
Recommendations on special town meeting warrant.
Okay, so I'm looking for a recommendation from the Board of Discussion, the Board of Selectmen discussion. So your article, to see if the town will appropriate $14,822 from the undesignated fund for funding of wages and expenses of a permanent part-time deputy code enforcement officer for the remainder of 17-18 fiscal year. And as soon as I saw that and read it out loud, you'll have some options. You can still vote, and we can sign a fresh copy out front when you're getting ready to leave. So kind of tie into a lot of different things. So last night, Ed was there, Warren and Finance met. They had a lot of good questions, and maybe Dr. Williams wants to come and recap that. Some of the concerns that came up was whether or not it was going to be a deputy position or an assistant position, and discussion went on about the difference between the two. So I just want to make sure that before you make this recommendation, do we want to change it? Do you want to leave it the way it is? Because once we vote on it, once you sign the warrant,
Department head wishes it to be called an
assistant.
assistant. I think the department head knows what he wants, any more than we would tell you that whoever helps you in your office would be a deputy or an assistant. I think it's up to the department head. If he wants to call it an assistant,
I mean, there's
then we call it an assistant.
there's nothing to say that an assistant can't become a deputy.
This is true. Yep, and they could work towards that.
And I guess the other piece of it is, the Warren and Finance recommendation that they made last night was to approve the article as written, which said deputy.
Yeah.
So now we run into the issue of if you can't make the change and assume that Warren and Finance is okay with the word assistant, because from sitting through that meeting, I know that it was kind of split. So I guess what I would recommend that you do is to make your recommendation, sign the warrant the way it is, and let me send an email to legal first thing tomorrow. I honestly don't think it's gonna matter if it's a deputy or an assistant. I mean, you could even swear this person in as a deputy and not give him all the deputized rights. I mean, it's still up to the department head,
To delegate.
to delegate, but
Right.
Ed is right, the assistant, the CEO was looking for an assistant.
True.
But that raises a problem now that the warrants and finance made a recommendation on the word deputy. So what do you think? How do you want to proceed?
Well, we have a couple of representatives from Warren Finance here tonight. What's the feelings?
Williams, Sunset Boulevard. The Warren Finance Committee met. I think we learned a lot about what's going on. We actually have two deputy CEOs right now, but they're rarely ever used except in real emergencies. One is the actual CEO at Shapley, and the other one is a master electrician who has recently received some additional certifications, and as such prompted the Board of Selectmen agreeing with giving him a boost in salary. This was going to make a third CEO deputy, and we got that all straightened out as to the fact that the two deputies that are presently on the books are only very, very, very infrequently used. In fact, one or two times since they have been a deputy CEO, and it's only for a vacation. And in turn, Mr. Paul acts as the same thing for Shapley when the Shapley CEO is on vacation or is out of town. My point was that a deputy has the potential of becoming a true deputy and being certified in all the 14 certifications that are necessary by the state of Maine to be a deputy CEO. And we asked for a job description of both the CEO and the deputy, and I noted from the very beginning that on the deputy CEO, Mr. Paul had used the word assistant. And we questioned that last night because a deputy, truly by the dictionary, is somebody who can take the place of the person in charge. And an assistant is merely an assistant. And so, for some reason, there's a difference in opinion as to what this person is going to do and how much certification the new employee would want to get, and how much Mr. Paul wants the new employee to get. We simply went ahead and approved as written the warrant that was presented to us last night, and the committee agreed 100%. It was a unanimous decision to approve the warrant as presented to us.
So I go back to my recommendation, because I don't believe that there's much of a difference between an assistant and a deputy. I mean, once a deputy gets sworn in, an assistant, the staff that I have, I call them both assistants. Some of them get certifications in some things, others don't. I think they're side by side. I see Maine Municipal's job descriptions all the time. Some say assistant, some say deputy. Leave it the way it is, make your vote, make your recommendation. I'll send a long spelled out email to Maine Municipal. The worst thing that's gonna happen is that when you get to your special town meeting, somebody can make a motion, if they so chose, to change the word deputy to assistant, and see if the townspeople pass it. Explain why, and see if it passes. I mean, you really don't have any other options, because he's exactly right that that's how their recommendation was. So we can't change it at this point without having them re-meet, and that's not gonna happen in time.
And it may be the same thing. I mean, and,
I think-
there is some differences in it, I think,
Right.
but,
But when it comes to municipal, I'd be surprised if they have much of a concern with it, but.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all you can do at this point. He's
yeah,
got
I
valid
mean,
points.
either way, it's gonna be help for Ken,
Right.
for the CEO, so that's where we need to focus.
Mr. Paul can decide how he wants to use this deputy CEO. If he wants him only to be certified in 3 things out of the 14, so be it. If he wants him to have all 14 and become a real deputy who could take Mr. Paul's place upon Mr. Paul's absence, that would also be possible. So it
Exactly.
doesn't change anything in terms of the options that the CEO really has. The only other thing that we asked, and that is that something be put into the job description as far as who is going to be the
Answer
chain
to.
of command.
Yeah, and
as
we're
far
gonna
as this
discuss
person.
that. I'm just
Okay.
gonna let them know that.
Thank you.
And, talking last night down there, it's still a 1.5 to 2 year process to even achieve those 14 certifications, so, okay. You ready for motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the warrant as written.
The article?
Yes, the article is written.
I second. All in favor? Sign.
Expecting that. Well, I have one 2 ways, just in case, but that's the one you're gonna need to sign. You never know,
Sign
they
the-
might surprise me.
Warrant.
Make a motion, we sign the warrant.
Oh, I second. All in
This is the
favor?
Special town meeting
Keep it.
for Thursday, the
12th at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Here in the town hall.
so it's gonna be posted.
And it does say deputy code officer. Okay, great. Great.
Okay, marijuana moratorium.
All right. So per your instruction, the draft moratorium that you had at the last meeting that you kind of read over, that came from Maine Municipal, remember we talked about at the top, it had a little blurb, have our local council look at it. So I sent it over to Burke and Clegg. He made a few minor changes. As you can see, a majority of it were either removing or adding quotation marks. Number 5, he did add retail marijuana social club is located within the municipality, so he added a full word there. But this was written by Maine Municipal, so I don't expect another attorney to make many changes. The moratorium, we wanted him to check the statutes essentially. So section 1, the moratorium, he added the section underneath the chapter. And then another section, he added the words "there is," but other than that, it's a perfect identical match to what you were supposed to be reviewing from last week.
Yep.
So, and I did get a couple of calls, and I just put this out there while you guys have your conversation about it, because people are a little confused, and I thought it would be a good time for you to kind of explain to them why you're having a marijuana committee, but the moratorium's already drafted. So if you could just tie that together for the audience.
Okay, so the idea of the moratorium is to put a hold on any applicants coming in to apply for licenses under the 5 areas that they could apply for until the town of Acton can come up with zoning and guidelines for such businesses. And so the purpose of the marijuana committee is to do some research that would help guide those zoning and guidelines.
But not just zoning. I mean,
No.
is the committee going to be putting together an ordinance that you're hoping to eventually go to the townspeople with?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So will that depend on what happens with the moratorium? I mean, let's just say the moratorium gets voted down. Then if they vote down a moratorium, are we, so they voted yes in November, they vote down a moratorium, putting another ordinance in front of them is asking them the same thing for a third time. Do you know what I mean? So I just don't want the committee, they're concerned, there's a couple of them that are concerned that they're going to be doing all this research and.
Perhaps they would then work with the planning board to still continue to create zoning and guidelines in the hopes that, we,
Mike McCrum, I'm on the committee, and since we were just getting started, we really don't have any organization yet per se,
and we're not allowing public comment
well, this
during
is
our
public,
old
this
business.
is regarding this, and that's what I wanted to just, ask you, or not ask, but, I don't see a conflict of having both of them going on at the same time. That's it. I think being prepared for possibilities, even while you do the moratorium, makes sense.
Okay.
That's primarily what I was going to say. I had thought about this. If the moratorium passes, and there is a moratorium for 180 days, we've already got the committee in place to work on it. There's already people that are working on it within the committee, and we'll be a step ahead. If we wait until we pass this or don't pass it, we're going to be behind the 8 ball, so.
No, I just wanted to make sure you were prepared either way.
Yeah.
So the committee doesn't need to see or deal with the moratorium. This is something that the board's drafted, the board's putting it on a secret ballot, the town of Acton voters are going to decide. The committee, you guys have put together a list of questions, give them a good guidance and place to start, which we'll give you for those of you that are here after the end of the meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so if the moratorium is voted through, and we do have a moratorium for 180 days, that's going to give the committee and the town enough time to systematically think this out, figure out what parts and pieces we want, we don't want the whole thing, we want it all. To try to get it done right the first time. So, rather than trying to rush through something and say, we're either going to take it or we're not. This way we can, the committee will work through. I think we got a good mix of people on the committee, and I think that's the way we need to, it should go. So, it's, we're not forcing anything one way or the other. We're just saying, let's take our time, let's think this out, let's do it right.
Okay, so with that said, last week you told me to decide when we could have an election. And I did try to convince Maine Municipal that the 45-day period to call an election could be shortened like it can with nomination papers if a selectman resigns, but they didn't go for it. So we're going to have 2 elections in November.
Okay.
Yay. Sorry. So, it is hereby ordered that the questions set forth below be placed on a referendum ballot for the election to be held on November 28, 2017, and that an attested copy of this order be placed on file with the Town of Acton Town Clerk. Question 1, shall an ordinance entitled Moratorium Ordinance Regarding Retail Recreational Marijuana be enacted? And the attorney did review that question. So once you sign this and you call for the election, this question cannot change. So if you have anything you want to do,
Did you look
now's
at
your
it?
time. November 28th is a Tuesday, right? Thanksgiving is the week before. They were actually eligible for that Tuesday and chose to push it out another week.
So the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I'll repeat the question. It is the whole thing?
No,
Or just the
question.
question? Shall an ordinance entitled, which is here, moratorium ordinance regarding retail recreational marijuana be enacted?
It's a yes or no vote.
And it's,
One part of 5 parts down.
but, no, actually, I thought so too, but I thought so too. The retail recreational marijuana, if you look, it covers all 5 licenses. Yeah.
And the same attorney that looked over the moratorium wrote the question, so he knew what they wanted to cover.
I think the words retail recreational covers it all.
So it's going to be on a secret ballot. Absentee ballots have to be available 30 days prior, so October 20-ish, October 28th-ish.
28th.
That's a Saturday. So we need to think about a public hearing. You have to have a public hearing because it's a secret ballot. So today's the 3rd, and you're going to want to advertise this a lot. You're actually required by law to advertise it in the same sense, the same way you would advertise the election. So it's a little more. So when do you want to have your public hearing? So absentee ballots are going to be available that Friday, the 27th, so you want to have it either right around that date. You know, you want people to have the chance to come and learn and hear before too many people,
Yeah, before they vote.
Yeah.
or, you know, maybe they've already decided, but. So you have Tuesday, the 31st, it is Halloween. I did call the school to confirm that they didn't have an event of any sort. If you did it on that day, it would be at 7 o'clock. I don't know. Those
I think
trick
a
or
lot of-
treaters, is that time for
I think a
people
lot
to
of
get?
kids are gonna be out trick-or-treating or whatever that day.
They are or aren't?
Well, I think they are. I think whether it's in Acton or whether it's Acton kids going to other towns or whatever.
So you don't think the
I would-
31st is a good idea?
I'd stay away from the 31st.
So, I mean, you could do it the 24th. I mean, that still gives us, that gives us plenty of time to advertise it. It's still 21 days away.
It's plenty of time. I'm hoping that the marijuana committee might be able to meet a few times to get some questions answered, and hopes to do some comments at the public hearing.
Yeah, but remember, they're all that the public hearing is supposed to be focusing on is the moratorium and the text within that document.
Okay.
Not so much about what's going to happen if marijuana comes forward or if
Okay.
you allowed it. I mean, you're really going to need to limit your questions, the public hearing, to what's on the front and back of that document.
Okay,
Because everything else, I mean, however they vote on the moratorium is going to be irrelevant to a lot of the questions that they have, that they're going to be coming up with.
Right.
I mean, you're just focusing on, do you want to put a 180-day pause on it or not? I mean,
okay.
so do you want to do the
Let's
public?
go for the 24th then, because otherwise the 7th of November is the
whole
elections, and then the 14th is too late, so, I think too late personally, but, so the 24th.
Yep, and just so you know, we had kind of talked about Halloween, that was just you and I, Ed, and that, before we knew Kim wasn't going to be. I have not checked with the school, but I don't, on the 24th, so just be pre-warned.
Okay.
So 7 PM, public hearing on just the moratorium.
Yes. We all in?
I'm in.
Okay.
If I don't put it in here, I'll forget it.
We're going to be here that night anyways.
True. I like to know a couple days beforehand. Okay.
So do we have a motion to sign the secret ballot election? Secret
make-
ballot for the
I'll make
more.
I'll make a
okay.
motion to sign to sign them for the secret ballot election to, the possibility of enacting a moratorium on marijuana.
A second. All in favor?
So the only other friendly advice that,
The vote for the moratorium?
November 28th.
Great, thank you.
Is once absentee ballots are available, that it works like any other election. The discussions have to come to a halt as long as the clerk's office is open.
Yep.
I should be recovered from the November election by then.
Right. Again, that's Tuesday, November 28th at 7 PM.
No,
For the, sorry, that's an all-day thing, 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
the public hearing is October 24th at 7 o'clock. Absentee ballots become available October 28th, and the vote is November 28th. The polls will be open from 8 to 8.
The 24th is a Tuesday?
Yes,
Yes.
there, now I have it down.
Okay, start printing ballots.
Perambulation.
So, I just wanted to read you some information that we found in the statutes. So, Title 30A, Section 2851 is the title that actually describes the boundary disputes between possible towns. There was an old requirement that the selectmen had to walk these town boundaries every 10-plus years, but it was actually repealed in 1979, and that where it was repealed can be found in Title 30A, Sections 2001 and 2001A. So that's just a follow-up from a comment last week that the board is required to do that. It was actually repealed in 79, so you're all set.
Thank you for looking into that.
Thank you for my help, my anonymous helper.
Nice to learn something new.
It is.
Neighbors helping neighbors.
So we talked about the neighbors helping neighbors, and I had a chance to actually run some numbers, so I wanted to do that. So as of now, we have $1,403.12 in there. The last payout that we had was on 9/21 for $450. We had someone that was in a situation that had exhausted all avenues regarding having no water for many, many months. So we assisted with a part of that, a piece of that. It's certainly $450, didn't pay for all of it, because the well had to be located, new dug well, but she had been weeks and weeks. The kids were going to the YMCA. There was a lot to the story. So that's our last payout, other than we had payouts in July for, I'm not going to name them, but two families that were having a difficult time. We gave them $100 each. And before that, we haven't had anything all summer other than the Deering Lumber, our ramp project was the last one. So $1,403.12. Deposits, just to give you a kind of a rundown. The month of August 1st, we had $15. August 29th, we had $8. August 30th, we had $15. In September, we had a $6. We had another 27 cents, and then we had a $120 donation. So that's where it's at, and we're in good shape for some Thanksgiving baskets. So thank you again to everybody that continues to donate.
And that's either rounding up on your bills or just a straight-out donation. Thank you. New business, Assistant CEO job description.
So I wanted to give you these, and I apologize that you didn't see them before the Warren and Finance, but they were kind enough to meet as quickly as they did, so we asked code enforcement to draft something up, knowing that you hadn't seen it yet. I'm not expecting you to approve it tonight, just hoping that you'll take it with you and review it and point out any questions or concerns, and then I'm hoping next week to bring Mr. Paul in to go over it. If you notice on the back, a couple of scribbles that I made, one of the changes when I spoke to Ken today, after giving him kind of an update of how last night went, the assistant code enforcement officer, instead of saying will be required, he's going to have may be required. So he can use that at his discretion. And then the end, where it talks about the position, you see I've got the note answers to, so we're going to put in another full sentence in there specifying that the position answers directly to the CEO and list out the chain of command similar to the personnel policy, just so it's clear.
Okay.
Great.
And then just entertain any other changes you have after you have a chance to look at it.
Thank you. Sorry, BMV webinar, October 10th.
So next Tuesday, the Department of Motor Vehicles is doing a webinar for all of the updated changes for registrations, titles, sales tax, anything pertaining to that. It's from 9 to 11, so I'd like permission to open the office late, say 11:15 on that Tuesday, so that Sarah and I can actually both focus and listen and pay attention to the new changes. There's been quite a few law changes, I understand, regarding motor vehicles registrations and so forth, so. Instead of traveling to Augusta, we'll close the office for 2 hours if it's okay, and open as soon as we finish.
Okay, it sounds good with me.
Fine with me.
Thank you.
Better 2 hours than the whole day traveling,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
Not something you
the
have to do.
webinars are great. I mean, wish everybody would do their training like that.
We have a resignation.
We have a resignation, and I don't have something essentially to read you, because we were communicating back and forth, but it's CJ Gardner. She's resigning from the rec committee.
Oh,
So I brought proof that she said that, but just need you to accept it.
Make a motion, we accept the resignation from C.J. Gardner from the rec department with regret.
with regret, I second that. All in favor? Thank you, CJ, for all your work. Appointments.
The cemetery committee has been very busy. They've managed to, and I don't know if Lois wants to come up and speak on their behalf. These are two individuals that are actually live in the town of Chapley. They want to come over to Acton and work on the cemetery committee. So those two have been appointed, not appointed, they've been drafted for you to review. If you have any questions for Lois about them, now's your time.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Lois Mishu. I'm your cemetery committee chair. What can I help you with?
So are they on their cemetery committee in Chapley?
No, they are not, but they do help out in Chapley.
Oh, okay.
They actually know a lot about cemeteries. They're really intelligent. Tracy was actually here during our meeting we had last Tuesday, informed us of a lot of good things. And basically, and would save us a lot of time, money, and effort, hopefully, in the long run. She'd like to be a member. Also, her partner, Jay, would also like to be a member. They both know their stuff. They realize it's an Acton committee, not a Shapley committee, because I was asked that earlier. I'm willing, anybody who's going to help, I'm not going to say no to. I'm hoping that you guys will appoint them. They are, they're very intelligent people. They know a lot more than I even know, and I've done a lot for a long time between them and Steve, and now I have Roland. It's going along really well.
Oh, good. So does Shapley not have a cemetery committee?
Cemetery, they have one, but they're pretty much at capacity.
Oh, wow.
So
That's-
they just have rollovers. They have people like Steve was actually, when I first got Steve, he was actually supposed to be on loan. And then they found out what we actually needed here.
Oh.
And Mr. Rivard said, keep him, so I kept him.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
And then these two are actually also from Shapley, and they found out what kind of things we need help with and stuff like that, thanks to Steve, and they want to be part of it. They want to make sure that we're up on, get things rolling the way it's supposed to go, and the way it's supposed to look. Instead of, doing, I don't want to say it, they have that. They want it to look right.
We're Acton's struggling with finding volunteers to fill the committees, so.
Well, that's it. And
Yeah.
that was the other thing, and we were struggling so much that I thought this, I wasn't going to tell them no. I figured when it got before, because obviously it has to come before you guys, and then from there. I mean, if they're willing, I'm not going to say no.
Right.
I think they both said for a year for now. They want to just try it, make sure how things
Okay.
go well. And then
Great.
if that works, progress for more. I think you wanted, 6 of us? You got 5.
It's usually
This
what we
is
have on a
okay.
committee is
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Yeah, if these 2 are approved, we're up to 5. So that's
Okay,
better than
that's
1.
great.
We had 1 in the spring.
Perfect.
Yeah,
We're working our way forward.
Thank you.
This is what I'm looking for, is forward. And Steve and them all have great ideas. They're doing really, really well. Matter of fact, tomorrow night, they're all meeting, except for me. I have another committee I'm committed to. They're all meeting up at up in the north end of town to look at some of the other cemeteries up there that might need help and to look around.
okay. So I will read the appointment. To Tracy Lavassier and Gerald Carter, the Selectmen of the Municipality of Acton do, in accordance with the provisions of the laws of the state of Maine, hereby appoint you as Cemetery Committee member within and for the Municipality of Acton until June 30th, 2018, needs to be edited.
does it say?
17. It's until 2018.
You can just put your initials beside it and it'll be fine. Leave it
Okay.
just like that.
So you going to do a year and a half?
Well, no, they wanted a.
No, it will be,
Oh, this
yeah,
one
it will be,
says-
no, it will be next year, you're right, this is, yeah, it rolls over, never mind. That's fine.
Let's change the wrong one.
For taking the heat off me that I made
That's
a
okay, I
mistake there,
tried.
but that helped.
I tried, nope. Yep, I'll make a motion that we appoint Tracy Lavasser and Gerald Carter to the cemetery committee.
I second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy and Gerald, or Jay, if that's what you like to be called. Okay, we're gonna open up for public comment.
All right, let me get my timer out.
I know, I didn't go far. Hey, the committee just wanted to know when the warrants were actually going to have to be ready to be put out. In other words, I know they're in the spring, but when's the soonest, or when do they have to be available by, so everybody can look at them?
You're talking about for
The
the
warrants.
June 20?
Yes.
I mean, the June meeting, town meeting?
Yes.
That's, we don't even have
I know
budget
you hate to
meetings
think
till.
about it,
No,
but
no,
I
I
was
just, I mean, by Maine state law, they only have to be out for 7 days.
All right.
But, I mean, it is, I've never seen a board, I mean, with an annual town meeting like that, I mean, we try to have it out for at least, a good month.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's gonna depend on what outline and what.
I'm trying to
this-
think of when we signed last year. It seemed
signed
like a
it-
good month.
It's not just that. I guess I said the wrong question. The biggest thing is they want to know when they would be prepared to put an article on the warrant.
Oh, well, that, you'll get a memo
Oh.
on that, they're not gonna answer on the spot, because
No,
we'll
but-
sit, it's generally around December, January, and once the treasurer puts together a timeline, the board reviews it, we'll announce it, but that's usually the timeline.
Okay, and I want to thank you for finding the information out about the walk. It's great, thanks a lot. And I was going to say, before you all sign that warrant, that marijuana one, I was hoping you'd put the 180 days on it so people understand it's good for 180 days.
It's in the actual ordinance when you read the ordinance.
Mike McCrum, just wondering, you had said last week that you were going to get a list of questions.
Yep.
Things that do you have those?
We do.
Oh, great, I'll touch base with you later with
Yes.
that. Okay, thank you.
Dennis Long, this is an observation, not a criticism. A few weeks ago, as a board, you laid out rules of the Selectmen's meeting, the way that they were going to be conducted. And tonight, it kind of strayed a little away from that. And if these are going to be the rules, I wish the Selectmen would abide by that, because you got people like me that generally have an opinion about everything and would like to get up and say something. And I don't. And I would just like to, out of respect for everybody, the ones that have something to say and the ones that don't have something to say, that you enforce your rules. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for saying that, Dennis, because I was gonna have to give him a hard time later about that, so we got the one slip away, and we gotta just, it's tough, especially when it pertains to something, but.
Right away,
I'm sure
right.
they intend to do that.
Hi, Susan Meehan. I'm going to ask again, can we think about moving the selectmen meeting to 6 o'clock? Because a lot of people, it's really hard for people to work to get here at 5. I just ask that you consider it. I know you said
I
in the
have, and it
past
just
you've
doesn't seem like
tried.
it works for me. A lot of committees meet after this meeting, and that just it just ends up pushing their committee meeting times further into the evening. I mean,
It's just that I've heard comments, people are concerned, because it's hard if you work a regular job.
Maybe the people that have the concerns that are reaching out to her can contact you directly and see how
Right.
many, you're talking about, or,
yeah.
have them call the board directly if they want a 6 o'clock meeting.
Change it. Thank you, that's all I have.
They'll come weekly.
Carol Combs Boomway. I really wanted to come tonight, so I had to use an hour of PTO to come. I would, request even 5:30, even a half an hour later. Most office jobs get over at 5, and so I commute an hour and 10 minutes, but most people, I think the average is 30 minutes to get home. So even 5:30 would be super helpful. I know, like, with anything, selectmen's meetings attendance have ebbs and flows, so some, you can go a long period of time without a lot of people. But right now with the moratorium coming up, and with just all the things that are going on in town, and, a lot of people would like to be able to come and hear what's going on and don't have that opportunity. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Road Committee would like to schedule a meeting for next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, if that's good for everybody. And we can fill you in on what we have as a group.
That should work. The general assistance public hearing is first thing. Should only take
Yeah, and
5
I mean,
minutes.
I don't have my calendar. I have to go to the website and look at what
Well,
I've already.
you can,
Yeah.
why don't we talk tomorrow, Jennifer, because I want to get those laws into you.
We'll talk after the meeting.
Okay.
Any more public comment? Okay, I'll move on to the announcements. Town report letters are due this Friday from all department heads and not
So,
all committees.
Just,
Some committees, right?
well, right, well, and I'm going to show you some drafts and you can decide, but what did we decide we were doing if October 7th comes? And I don't have letters from half of the departments?
Looks like the town report's gonna be kind of thin.
Yeah.
You say that, but,
Yeah, I know we
but the
can't do
problem
it.
is that we want, like
Yeah.
Elise said in the beginning, we want
Yeah.
the historical
Just
documents.
say, yeah, we can't do it, but
The town reports, yeah, they're a piece of history. You're creating history. You're including numbers of your department's activities for that fiscal year, and people do go back and look at those reports to look at the history of town meetings and what the transfer station did and what the road committee or road commissioners have been working on in a summary, just a one-page summary. Like the library does a report on how many kids attended their summer reading program and how many books were checked out. So it's a piece of history that's important. Just one page.
how many are you missing right now? Pretty much all of them, Yeah.
More than I have.
really?
Mine's
And-
done. Ours is done.
Yours is done.
I just have to get
Yeah,
my
I'm not
number.
gonna name them. I'll reach out to the liaisons. Honestly, most of them that we're missing are actually paid employees, so there should be no, you know what I mean? It's just not an option. I mean, you just need to call the department head and.
So fire department. Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, well, I'd like to see a list.
Okay.
General assistance public hearing, October 10th, 5 PM. Sand bids are due October 17th. The Mary Grant pumpkin carving is October 21st at 4 PM until whenever. The zoning board of appeals, the rec committee is, and the cemetery committee, well, the cemetery is almost full, right? Just one more person maybe, but the rec committee could really use some volunteers.
We're down to one.
We're down to one, and basketball season's coming up, soccer's closing. So if you have kids in sports and you want to help out, that would be great for you. Upcoming meetings, planning board, October 5th at 7 PM. The Board of Selectmen, October 10th at 5 PM. Special town meeting, October 12th, 7 PM. Board of Selectmen, October 17th, 5 PM. Planning board, October 19th, 7 PM. Rec committee, October 19th, 7 PM. Board of Selectmen, October 24th at 5 PM. What was I going to add to that? Public hearing at 7 PM that same night. Cemetery committee, October 26th at 5 PM. And again, Board of Selectmen. Every
October
Tuesday at 5.
What'd you say?
Every Tuesday at 5.
31st.
October 31st. So there's the next month of meetings. If you have any that you'd like to add, just let us know. It looks like maybe road committee next week. We'll keep you updated. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
I second. All in favor? Good night.